happy Tuesday. Happy Text Adventure Tuesday. I am very quiet. Oh, hang on 1 second. That's better. Happy Text Adventure Tuesday. It's a Tuesday. And what we've got today is we've got more SeedComp. I'm really excited to check out these games and check out like what's going on. With these, this was a game jam that I entered and did not complete at all in time. So I was really excited to see that there were so many different people putting in games and seeing what they did with the seeds. So the way that SeedComp worked was that there were 2 rounds. Hello, French toast, please. Absolutely. So the way that SeedComp worked was that there were 2 rounds. The first round was seeding, and that was just like parts of games or a plot or just ideas thrown out there. And then the second part was the actual games that were built off of those seeds. So I submitted a seed. Happily, no one used it. So I don't have to think about what that means. So what we have today, we did a few of these. That is from a HyperCard game. That is from Tiny Tim's Big Adventure, which is a point-and-click HyperCard game that is definitely very 1990. But what we've got today is we've got a big wheel. And so we got through 4 games last time. Let's see how many we can get through today. So let's spin the wheel. We've got everything that we haven't played yet. I have played a couple of these for a couple minutes, but almost all of these I am going in as blind as anything. So let's spin the wheel. What do we got? Yes, I'm very excited about this one. Okay, so this is Cozy Simulation $29.99 to talk about things that were made in the 2012s that were trying to be from the 90s. I definitely remember all of the Marvel $29.99s. We gotta make that a little smaller. There we go. Alright, we got a big wheel. So what is Cozy Simulation? I am extremely not sure. So it's got sounds. So let me turn down this. Bloop. And so this is one of the most complicated stream setups that I have to do, just to be totally honest. So let me know if things are readable, if things are easy to see, if there's a big wheel in front of everything. All right. So we have Cozy Simulation $29.99. So this is a Twine game. Let's keep zooming in. Okay. So this is a Twine game. I haven't looked at any of the seeds, like what seeds it took, but there was a seed that was a specific graphical glitch setup. Yeah. What's it about? It's a short horror game. Nail on head right there. Short horror game made for SeedComp 2023 in a few days. Playtime estimated at 15 minutes. 3 endings, 2 mostly the same. None are good or bad. I don't need any guides. Content warnings. Graphic death, violence, body horror, insects. So, of course, if any of those things bother you, feel free to check out. That is totally fine. I don't need any guide or more on this game. You know, and that's something that, like, I think happens a lot in games. Like, I'm finding it with the game that I'm making right now, and, like, how much do I want to lean into it? How much do I not? But, like, it's easy to go that kind of, like, horror or, you know, just in general, like, sort of negative feelings kinds of games. Especially, I think the Twine scene tends to be on the confessional side, on the, like, less, you know, let's make a game about weird things, and more, let me talk about my weird feelings. And I think that's good. I think it's important to, like, have games that are this kind of personal journey. I'm curious how this works out. I really liked this seed in particular. I wish I could have done anything with it. And the seed is this, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, graphical glitchiness. All right, let's start. So we've got some flickering. Somewhere, a fireplace is crackling. You're wrapped in an old quilt, soft, downy fuzz. You remember a patch of sunlight on the carpet. Your head feels languid with dreams. Nice music. Welcome to your cabin. Please, take a look around. It's an old log cabin. The fireplace crackles comfortably. Sunlight falls in vertical stripes on the floor. Beneath you is a throw rug, finely embroidered with white flowers curling through the fabric. Piled above it are beanbags, throw pillows, and fluffy blankets. Aren't they soft? It would be so easy to sleep here. A heavy oaken table sits in the center. A bookshelf to the side, stuffed with books. Outside the window, the bare branches of trees interweave, forming a knitted pattern against the sky. Each branch is thick with gleaming icicles, nature's wintry chandeliers. The sky is blue and beautiful. This is your cabin. Do you like it? So I always find it kind of hard to play Twine games on stream. And the reason why is because it is this, like, unlike a Parser game or, like, a choice of game, Twine games are, at least have the opportunity to be really non-linear. And so you have this, link mid-text. I find that really interesting about Twine. And one of the things with Twine that I find extremely interesting is that I do think that it is more the promise of hypertext in a way that I think other text-based games don't have. But let's check out these white flowers. Oh, okay. So it's, as well as white flowers, it's an abstract sunset vista. Pink and orange clouds crossing a warm sky. Birds in flight. White shapes flock through the snow-laden branches of wintry trees. Let's go with an abstract sunset vista on this throw rug. Then outside the window, so I wonder if this is also going to be one of those click-through things. Outside the window, the bare branches of trees interweave, or white mountains stretch thick and rugged through the clouds. Brilliant peaks sparkle with snow. Sky and heart-piercing spires of stone. Outside the window shines a snowy meadow. White flowers poke through, their petals broad and graceful, flourishing on white vines. Aren't they lovely? Let's stick with bare branches. We have an abstract sunset vista embroidered on a throw rug and bare branches. This is your cabin. Do you like it? I don't know. Do I like this cabin? Sure. I like it. Good. I'm happy to hear that. If you do get tired of the scenery, you may change it at any time. Anyway, what would you like to do? Drink something? Watch the fire? Read a book? Let's watch the fire. It's pretty much all I do when there's a fireplace, so. The fireplace is old stone. The flames are comforting. You could sleep here. The light of the fire is so soothing compared to the wintry chill outside. Hard to keep your eyes open. The fire leaping and licking at the glass pane of the fireplace is so warm. Waves of fatigue roll through you. Sweet dreams seep through your head. The desire to curl up and close your eyes. Sleep now. Stay warm and comfortable. You deserve it. Sleep. Sweet dreams. Wake up. So we're back at the same thing. We have a heavy oaken table sitting in the center, a bookshelf to the side stuffed with books. Let's read a book. You read one of the books. The book is called Look Under the Rug. It smells like old pages. Crisp. The gilt letters on the cover shimmer. The hollow screen was not there before. It's a nice story. It makes you want to fall asleep. No, let's try to stay awake. So we watched the fire. We read a book. I have my water. I'm not going to drink something. Let's watch that hollow screen. That's right. I've added a hollow screen to the cabin. I hope it makes you feel better. Many people are fond of hollow screens. It's a fun way to sit back and relax. Anyway, enjoy yourself. Sit back and relax. There's a reality show featuring robots in a replica suburb from the early 2000s. Every rain cycle, one robot gets voted out. Who will survive? The dashing charmer 34D9A or the anxious newcomer IR7UL? You'll have to watch to find out. Let's see if there's more on the hollow screen. A slice of life show set in an alternate universe, complete with real trees and animals. Must have had an insane budget. You're too tired to do anything. Sorry. Sleep. Darkness. A flash of memory. Cool. Okay. Huddled in a dark room with peeling walls, paltry light through a high broken window. Beyond the window, the bleak metal of rusty girders shining black and lurid in the haze. Wind whistles through jagged glass. Huddled on the floor, slick with mold and blood. The buzzing of the machinery outside is endless. Mechanical churn and clatter. I need to go. I need to run. Can hear them outside, crawling through the abandoned complex, buzzing. The broken window casts a jagged square of light, barely visible on the floor. Floor slick with mold and blood. Need to run. Can't muster the strength. Hear machinery buzzing beyond the broken window. Can't muster the strength. Huddled in a room with peeling walls. Can't. Memory fades. We're back in the log cabin. Let's read another book. Read one of the books. This book is called Roses and the Planets. It smells like old pages, crisp. The gilt letters on the cover shimmer. It's a nice story. It makes you want to fall asleep. Let's drink something. And let's change it to birds in flight and a snowy meadow. So this is definitely what I mean about it being like much more of a hypertext than necessarily other forms of interactive fiction. Like, we get to have this opportunity to be slightly less linear and wonder more than be 100% sure, like, what is or isn't affecting things. Let's drink something. What would you like to drink? Coffee, hot chocolate, hot water, hot milk, key lime smoothie. What? Who? I have to ask Duolingo this as well. Who is just drinking straight hot water? Like tea without the tea in it? Because my Duolingo does that a lot, where it's like, they would like to drink hot water. Would you like to drink hot water? No. I mean, if it's snowy out and there's hot chocolate. A sprinkle of cinnamon on the chocolatey surface. A dash of whipped cream. The chocolate taste is rich, deep, but not enough to be overpowering. Goes down smooth. Don't love that next. Alright, what other books are there? This book is called The Observatory of December. It smells like old pages, crisp. The gilt letters on the cover shimmer. It's a nice story. It makes you want to fall asleep. Yeah, let's close our eyes. Sleep now. Stay warm and comfortable. You deserve it. Okay. Oh, now we have something new. We can go outside. What happens? So I would love... I mean, the book said look under the rug. I would love to look under the rug. But okay. And yeah, a nice snowy meadow. Yes, you may now go outside as a reward for your good behavior. Behold, an expanse of soft white glittering beneath the sun. This is a real snow under a real sky. Every inch, perfect beauty. Too perfect. The rug is one of those cycling, changing text things. Yeah. Do you believe? I close my eyes. Focus on the soft touch of snow. Focus on acid rain guttering through distant pipeways. I this might say exactly how old I am, but I always am thinking about acid rain. Somewhere far above, rivulets of wastewater are burning through the city's foundations. If I focus, I can hear it dribbling down, black and bubbling. More real than this world ever will be. You can't bring yourself to believe? I'm sorry for you. An expanse of white, so bright it hurts the eye. The white flowers glisten, snow crunches underfoot. A cool breeze is blowing. Snow falls, soft and beautiful, dazzling in the light. The sun fills you with wistful love. All things are as they should be. So we can make snow angels, build a snowman, or go skating. Or be lame and go back inside. Oh. If I have a chance to, I will take a look at that. I am glad that it is visible enough that you can see that, because I missed that. Yeah, let's do the only thing I would do of these three things in the snow, which is make snow angels. Lie with your back in the snow, watching the sky, feeling the cool softness around you. The snow has settled underneath. It feels like a blanket, a special hole made only for you. Okay. I also have read that Junji Ito comic. Yeah, let's go back inside. Oh. Yeah. There's a trap door underneath the rug. No, look away. No, you just gave me a trap door. Wait, where are you going? You shouldn't do that. You haven't gone through all the mental modules yet. You're supposed to stay here. You're supposed to like being here. It will make you happier in the long run. I prepared everything just for you. Please come back. I'm so not sure. Do we want to go back, or do we want to say no? I think if I were actually playing this myself, I would just pick one and then refresh, but I'm kind of looking forward to playing these just once and getting that experience. Because I'm not somebody generally who plays games or reads stories or watches movies more than once. But yeah, good catch, Josh. Thank you. You know what? It'll always be there. Thank you. Yeah, well, what happens when we drink hot water like a normal human? Water from the purest springs. It's still water. It tastes plain. Why are you drinking this? You have so many better options. Okay. A Strexco-sponsored flesh opera. I do like how this is just very slowly getting more and more surreal or unsettling. Alright, sleep. Dream of the past. Transmission towers bristling with frozen satellite dishes. Electric current humming through barbed wire. Shuddering in the driving wind. Grappling from pole to pole. Rimed with frost. Icicles digging into palms. Palms bleeding. What a horrible place to be. I'm glad I'm here. I want to go back. I want to go back. A memory. Standing on the old slag heap below a panoply of factories rotting in the acid haze, cracked towers gouging at the sky, exhaling roiling black vapors into roiling red clouds. I want to feel the rain. But this world is perfect. Why is this not enough for you? Eat something. Yes, I've added new foods as well. I hope you enjoy them. What would you like to eat? Clementines, oatmeal cookies, cookies. Soft, warm, and crumbly. Digital sugar doesn't hurt your health. You can have as many as you'd like. That was not going to stop me either way. I want more cookies. All right, I'm giving you one more chance to shame me for eating so many cookies. Okay, no dice. Fair. I have eaten cookies all day. Best day ever. You're too tired to do anything. Yeah, all right. Create art. I've added a bevy of creative tools for you to freely utilize. Scissors and glue sticks and centered markers, oh my. You have a fine opportunity here to express your creative needs. It is healthy for you to do so. I encourage you to display what is in your heart. Create something. Next. Okay. Oh, we actually can't go back to the throw rug. Interesting. I do like that. This was also one of the seeds. It was kind of interesting how this used a lot of the art seeds in a way that like I said, you know, I definitely couldn't think of how to use a lot of them. Let's create one more art. Okay. So we're kind of in a bit of a loop. It's too cold to go outside. I'm sorry. Outside the window is nothing but white. You can't see a thing. That's interesting. Let's read one more book. Stillness and Purgatory. Let's just rush to his sleeping. I have good news. Your time has come. I would like you to go outside. Do you see the sun rising over the snow? Follow the light. Breathe. Breathe in. Your footsteps dissolve in the shining expanse. Breathe out. The sun burns before you in celestial splendor. In. The whole world vast and beautiful. Out. Enter the light. In. Out. In. I don't know how I feel about this, but maybe it's just my screen. Out, like a light. Sleep well. Descend into a deeper and more beautiful dream. Soon you will be reborn. So it was cool. That was Cozy Simulation $29.99. Let's see what some of the endings are. Normal ending, the other endings. The normal ending. Play the game normally. It's difficult to miss this one. The other endings. After you sleep it just once, in the cabin description, click the words throw rug. 2 endings can be found this way. So there's 2 other endings that are not the normal ending. That's cool. And for a first Twine game, that's pretty rad. I do think that it's interesting, especially with game jams, like, because I ran into this, like, you have an idea in your head based off of whatever the prompts are. And I think SeedComp is really cool for having, like, a ton of prompts. But you definitely underestimate the time that it takes to do things. And, like, I have made one full game that I didn't have to do any writing for, and I should have known that, like, it takes longer than you think. The original idea, based on several of the winter-themed seeds from SeedComp, was that you'd enter a cozy winter cabin with no context and just be expected to enjoy yourself. There'd be hidden flashbacks, and flavor text would reveal that it was a simulation and the narrator was keeping you trapped. This is quite a bit of writing. I think it's important. I don't know how I feel about stuff like this just in general. But I may read it later on my own time. So yeah. And there were a number of seeds that were used, which I really appreciated. Definitely the music seeds as well, which I also was like, I don't know what to do with that. Yeah, and some were processed with the images and effects seed. So that's really cool. That was a really cool game. I actually really like that. All right. That's a good start to today. What's next? All right, the Rye in the Dark City. Oops. Wheel. It's not this one, is it? Nope. Okay, so the Rye in the Dark City is this game. Detective Rye's office, Skelly's City. 15th of March, XXXX, afternoon. Let's zoom in a bit. Doesn't seem to be any music, so let's get some back started. I pressed the half-smoked cigarette in the ashtray bowl before my hand mechanically reached for the almost empty pack and took out another one. The waiting was always the hardest part of this job. Even if Skelly's City was known for its crime-riddled streets, few, and fewer now, seemed to require my services. Shaking my head, I sighed bitterly as my fingers grazed the stack of bills spread all over my desk. Every day, another would appear, bearing now final notice on the envelope. My dwindling finances could not keep up with the relentless financial requests. If only I could get just one case. Stare out the window. I rested my arm on the cool glass of my office's window, glancing mindlessly outside. The rain kept on drumming against the window, seemingly endless. The storm raged on as it already had for the past week. Torrents of water flowed down the streets as a handful of people fought against the ghastly wind and tried to protect their damn clothes from further ruin. Still, no one would get close to my office's building. My finger traced the droplet's path as it rolled down the glass. Storm had taken over Skelly's City and it showed no signs of stopping. Could not take it a second longer. And then, a knock on the door. Yes, I responded tentatively, praying that it would not be this time the repo man. The door swung open from the shadow, and a scent of warmth and sweetness embalmed the room. I held my breath out of fear, partly of the figure creeping closer, partly of losing this lovely smell of bread fresh out of the oven. Is this? A faint voice echoed in the room. The office of Detective Rye? Private Eye? Yes, this is I. Yes, I responded apprehensively. This is I. I've run into this in a lot of, more broadly choice-based games where it is a challenge to know whether what you're clicking on is literally what you are saying or if it is the gist of what you're saying. I find that an interesting challenge from how would I write this perspective? Because you don't, and I've found this in FMV games as well. Last week we were playing The Dark Side of the Moon, and even subtle variations in the dialogue and the line that you actually say, in my eyes anyway, can really affect which one you choose. So to be like, yes, I responded apprehensively, this is I. It's a little different than saying, yes, this is I. Oh, thank goodness, the voice exclaimed. Wonder why this is spoilered. This was the third office I tried in this building. Did you know that there's barely any signage here? Gosh, one more failure and I would have just accepted the consequences. As the voice continued its rambling, the strange figure, which I studied intently, slowly approached the desk. It was then I realized a feminine vision of purity emerged out of the darkness, looking helpless and troubled. She wore a pale pink tweed and sharply tailored blazer, with a similarly fitted skirt suit. Under her arm, she was clenching a small beige purse, as she removed elegantly her pastel satin gloves to reveal exquisite ebony hands. Under a small beret, her dark wavy hair moved ever so faintly with the rest of her. Why is this spoiler? Very interesting. And I can't believe this neighborhood is even sketchier than mine. The woman added, unfazed by my examination. Gosh, I hope this is worth the trouble. I watched her rouged lips dance as she talked about something I knew would escape her lovely mouth. Her crystal-like voice rang in ears the sweetest of melody. but my mind could not register a single phrase. It was as if this mysterious woman had put me in a trance. Bask in the warm embrace of this daze, shake it off and offer the woman a seat. Let's play this guy as kind of an idiot. Bask in the warm embrace. No matter how hard I tried, which was very little, I could not leave the warm embrace of this daze. My eyes continued to fix her fluttering lips, only to be distracted by the faint movement of her curls, or the slight brush of her fingers against her leather purse, and her perfume. Hello? The woman waved her graceful hand. Are you there? I smiled brainlessly at the majestic creature in front of me. Our eyes locked for a brief moment, and I noticed her chin dipping down and her gaze broke loose. She turned her face away and cleared her throat. Still, I could not say a thing to that woman, dumbstruck by her beauty. So much for the help. She sighed. Come back to one's senses. A strange vibration climbed up my spine, shaking me from my torpor. I only realized then that I had yet to speak a single word to this magnificent creature since she entered my office. Yeah. Maybe? I opened my mouth before closing it, afraid of babbling stupidly. Instead, I glanced around the room, hoping to find something to focus on and regain my composure. I heard the tapping of her heel against the hardwood floor. I should probably... Please, I finally said, pulling a chair for her. Do have a seat. The graceful figure hesitated for a second, her eyes shifting from one side to the other as if scared of something or someone. Yet she relented, mumbling a thank, while she sat down. So, miss, I continued, leaning against my desk. Sage Boulanger. Boulanger. What can I do for you, Miss Boulanger? Well, you see, she started looking embarrassed. It's a long story. Listen to Miss Boulanger's story. Ask her to get to the point. Ask her out. Who cares about her story? It's not a detective she needs. Huh. I'm an idiot, but I do have a job that I'm doing. It all started when... yeah. So I see what you're meaning. But then I don't... Do you give the option to actually read it then? What does it give you? What does it give you to have the click to reveal? It all started when Mary, Rose, and I were in school. We promised each other we would open some sort of bakery together, where we would each play on our strengths. Though she recounted her story with such passion, I could not help but be distracted by her beauty. There was a mysterious fog shrouding this woman, as if she was hiding something or someone. Mary had always been fascinated with sweet things, so it was no wonder she would want to create candy. Rose, on the other hand, was always immersed in all posh and delicate things. It surprised no one when she announced she would study patisserie in school. As for I kept looking at her, trying to catch a glimpse of her eyes. My mentor had always reminded me that the eyes were the trap to someone's soul. If you could look deep inside someone's eyes, you'd know for sure if they were lying to you, or if they were hiding something from you. I knew baking and breads were my passion, and when we all left school, She paused, smiling faintly. We found this quaint little corner store. Right there and then, we knew we would make it work, the three of us. Owning this place, baking and cooking and selling treats together. And then, she glanced up and our eyes locked for a brief moment. She gasped silently and soon turned away, clutching her purse harder. But in that short time, I had seen the deep pain holding its grasp on her heart behind her eyes. I really can't believe them. Why would they accuse me of sabotaging our dream? I've always worked as hard, if not harder sometimes, at it. I didn't need to listen to her words to understand what had been happening. Those were the eyes of the betrayed, the eyes of a pariah, the eyes of the wrongly accused, the eyes of the truly innocent. My heart just about melted for her. I wanted to do anything to help, even lay down my life for her. I'm so angry. They thought I would be responsible for this. This must have been an accident at least, she scoffed. And the police. Mention of the pigs ticked me. They were always a thorn in my foot, always running around like they owned the place, believing that they were the smartest ones here. But I knew better. They couldn't solve squat. They wouldn't know a clue if it was in front of them. If they would actually do their job properly, there wouldn't be a need for people like me to solve mysteries. They just laughed in my face when I assured them I was innocent. They all did. No one believed I wasn't involved with this. She paused and waved at me. Are you even listening to me? I smiled warmly and nodded, gesturing her to continue, even though I barely caught a word of what she had been recollecting. I didn't really need her to tell me what was wrong. I learned all I needed to know looking at her. Whatever I was missing, I'd surely find while investigating around. This was just a formality. Cases involving beauties like her were always the same. There was a tragic accident involving someone dear to them that cost them everything. Somehow, they were accused of the deed, though they always claimed to be innocent. I knew they were innocent, no matter what people said. Handsome people never did anything wrong. No one believed them, not even the authorities. Yet, something didn't seem completely right here, and I could not put my finger on it. So, will you take the case? Do I need to play this guy as an idiot? It sounds like he's definitely something. Of course. I grabbed her hand and squeezed it. There's no way I would not do anything in my power to help this woman. I knew I had to find the truth and avenge her honor. I would protect her, no matter the danger I would need to face. Such beautiful creatures should never know the hardships of being in a cell. Of course I will take your case. Why wouldn't? Oh, thank goodness. Her hand escaped mine and landed on her chest. Honestly, you were my last resort here. I wasn't sure you'd take the case in the first place. Must be so trivial to you. No, I tried to reassure her. Please, do not. I don't know what I would have done if you had refused. You don't need to worry, my dear. I smiled, hiding the notice letters behind me shamefully. I would never refuse a case. Her face relaxed, and I could hear her breathing more easily. It looked as if a lot of pressure had lifted from her shoulders. I felt giddy inside, knowing I'd been the one relieving her. Time is still of the essence here, she added, getting up and straightening her skirt. You must meet me at the time for sweets tomorrow. Her eyes met mine, and she bit her lips. It is at the corner of Main and 5th. With that, she almost ran out the door and disappeared into the corridor. Though her warm scent lingered just a bit longer, it soon followed suit, leaving an emptiness in its wake. Time for sweets. Where have I heard this name before? March 16th, morning. Wish there was some kind of year here. It's very nitpicky, but like, if you want it to be an indeterminate time, you can either not include it, or you can make a meaningless time. It's just kind of interesting. I'd not slept a wink the night before. Tossing and turning all night in my bed, the image of that Aphrodite haunted my dreams. In one hallucination, she descended from a marble staircase in a pastel silk robe, with feathers around her wrist, a bloodied knife slipping from her hand. In another, she struggled in her pink suit to run away from someone in the darkness, as I tried to catch up with her, screaming her name. And in one other, she stood enraged, looking down over a lifeless body. My body. I'd woken up drenched in cold sweat, feeling exhausted. Still, even away from the arms of Morpheus, the woman still had not left my thoughts. No matter what I'd try to do, she lingered around, taking back my attention. And yet, there was something about her story that was missing, something she had said that I could not remember. Staring at the ceiling, I knew I would not find peace until this mystery was resolved. And when I arrived, the dame, by the name of Miss Sage Boulanger, that I remembered, had asked to meet at the corner of Main and 5th, where Time for Sweets was supposedly located. The location had piqued my interest yesterday, as it was not one you would expect to see such a delicate creature to roam about. This neighborhood known for being quite rough. Still, my expectations could not have been more shattered than standing in front of the bakery. Yes, a bakery. The beauty asked me to meet in front of a bakery. A quaint little shop called Time for Sweets, located at the corner of Main and 5th, with delectable trees displayed behind the vitrine. Strangely, the other corners had eccentric shops as well. The Gingerbread House, An Eye for an Ale, and Trouble in Toyland. This was miles away from what I had imagined. Nowhere in the opulent mansion with ancient columns was to be found. Neither were the fashionable gardens where a flock of lowlives worked hard, or expensive cars lining the driveway, or even the butler welcoming me at the door. From the look of the gal that walked into my office, that was where I imagined she would have wanted me to start my investigation. It made sense to me, considering the information I had gathered during our conversation. A tragic accident having taken place in a sacred place, the loss of something most precious to her, the accusation of one's closest to her. Yet, here I stood, in front of this tiny and meager place. Just a simple bakery in the corner of two shabby streets, inside which I could not find a single soul. There's also a sign on the door warning customers of an unprecedented temporary closure. Something did not feel right. Sure, enter the shop. It's always hard with these, to be like... And we saw this a bit with the last game, too, where you have, do the thing that will further the story, or don't do that thing, and, go back. And I wonder, just from, a writing perspective, we saw this with After the Accident. I think that was interesting in that it was a fully linear story. Even as a parser game, it was, hey, there's one thing you need to do. You need to get this thing. Okay, that moves us to the next scene. Where as opposed to giving this sense of choice that I don't know if it really needs to be there. What makes this more of that kind of hypertext where things aren't linear? And not that everything needs to be non-linear and that kind of thing, but I just kind of am unsure how it's supposed to work exactly. Yeah. And I find that with a lot of Twine games too, where it's going to a specific point, and like if the game is that linear, then sort of the goal is to play through and experience as much content as possible. So something I think about with especially Twine games and choice of games. Where like Parser games, obviously, like the same aspect of that is like examining every single thing, as opposed to just like getting the thing that you know you need to do to complete the puzzle. And it's like, no, I need to examine it and then examine like 3 of the nouns that are mentioned in the description. You know, and I think like Rope of Chalk does that really, really well. Where, you know, we were really, really lucky to have the author in chat, and he was chomping at the bit when it came to some of the sections, because like I just breezed right on through them. I was like, yeah, cool. There's like a lion that's melting. Neat. Let's like move on. And it's interesting to see what like what the goals of, you know, interactive fiction games are, really. The bell above the door jingled as I entered the shop. I glanced around. From the tea tables by the door collecting dust, the wall covered with jars of sweets and candy looking untouched in weeks, the counter and vitrines displaying much sadder pastries than the ones against the windows. Were those fake? Or even the seemingly stale bread at the back of the room. The emptiness and silence of the place unnerved me. Still, I stood my ground. It wasn't some little weak feeling that would shake me so much I wouldn't be able to do my job. I forced myself to focus on something. Like that picture of 3 women on the wall, with a lovely and strangely familiar scent. I'll come back to that. Hello? I asked apprehensively. Anyone here? Instead of a response from Miss Boulanger, who had asked me to come here and yet seemed nowhere to be found, I was met with more silence. Aside from the yapping of a small dog appearing from behind the counter and playfully zooming around me, I pet the dog. Hello? I asked again, louder this time. Miss Boulanger? Which, if my middle school French is correct, means baker. Or perhaps bakery. A muffled voice, following the sound of a fallen object, echoed from a back room. Is Dame in danger? Yeah, we won't worry about the danger right now. Pet the dog. Oh, okay. Or I ignore the dog, or I push the dog away from my foot. No, always pet the dog. If you can pet the dog in Dark and Darker, which is a party-based multiplayer, like if Dark Souls and Diablo sired its own indie game, you can pet the dog in any other game. But yeah, okay, the picture of 3 women on the wall. The picture was in a lovely sepia tone, with 3 smiling women with aprons in front of the shop I was now standing in. They all looked proud. Was it the shop's opening? Looking closer, I noticed the one in the middle depicting Miss Boulanger. On her left stood a plumpy but kind-looking woman, while to her right was a tall and serious-looking one. Who were they? The familiar scent. The room smelt like Miss Boulanger when she had entered my office the day prior. Made sense now, with this place being a bakery and all. Okay. Wait here, it didn't sound that worrisome. Follow the sound to rescue Miss Boulanger. Do we be... Okay, if we're playing this as... This is a not very smart detective. What is less smart? Just going, it's probably fine. Or following the sound. My instinct was to follow the sound. There's part of me that just wants to be like, I love that option in stories. It's something I'm like keenly aware of, where like I'm playing through Diablo 2 for the first time in like, I don't know, 15 years. And like I'm playing it, and there are multiple times where I just want to be like, you know what? I have less than zero interest in going to the deep dark depth of, you know, the spider cave and finding, you know, the amulet of kings. It's like, no, I don't want to do that. Like, I have this cool warrior person I'm hanging out with. Like, he seems chill. He knows some magic. Like, I've got my skeletons. Like, why do we have to do this? Yeah, let's follow this. You know what? No, we're kind of an idiot. Wait here, it didn't sound that worrisome. I decided to wait a bit longer, just to see if there would be further signs of struggles. More muffling, the sound of a hit, even a scream would do. Or if this was just a fluke. I knew better than to jump to conclusions and put myself in compromising situations. It was not too long ago I was discovered in the presence of a nude wife of a client, whose screams I had mistaken for pain. While I waited patiently, not the least worried about the strange noise, little dog yapped and ran towards the back room. Seeing it disappeared, I hoped it would find and notify its owner of my presence. My patience still had its limit. Whether it was by pure coincidence or wish fulfillment, a familiar figure appeared in the frame in the back. She was brushing off some dust from her arm, and when our eyes locked, she smiled warmly. Ah, Detective Rye. I'm so glad you made it. She walked towards me, her hand waiting to meet mine. I was getting worried you wouldn't show. Why wouldn't I? I smirked seductively. You wouldn't have been the first one. She looked saddened. Did you contact another PI before me? Well, I'll always be here for you, Miss Boulanger. Shall we get to the case? We are too dumb for romance. Did you contact another PI before me? You contacted other PIs before me? I asked, feeling a bit insulted. Maybe? Miss Boulanger looks flustered. And a waste of time that was. She sighed. This is why you should have come to me in the first place, I responded with disdain. You would have already been proven innocent of your crimes by now, had you done so. I will remember that for the next time, she said non-committally, looking away. We stood there awkwardly in silence for a short moment before the woman continues. Should we move on to the scene of the, crime? Right. I clicked my heels. Follow me. Okay. Follow the woman. I followed the melancholic woman to the back room, passing through a few door frames and realizing quaint small shop was much bigger inside than the vitrine outside let it out. I finally arrived at the scene of the crime, a small room having been turned upside down. Oh, Miss Boulanger exclaimed. You don't need to worry about things being out of place. No one has touched the place since the incident. The police have been no help. She rolled her eyes. And I wouldn't let anyone come here either. I glanced around the room and winced. There was a lot to take in. With that mess, it could take me a few hours, maybe days, to maybe find something that could help her. I don't want to rush you, detective, but she paused. I need to get proof of my innocence before tomorrow morning. Tomorrow? I almost choked. This must be quite a short deadline, Miss Boulanger. Please, call me Sage. Still, Miss Sage. This does not leave me a lot of time. I will try my best to help, but this is quite the Herculean task you are giving me. She looked down. I understand. Miss Sage, I raised her chin gently with my hand. I promise I will do all I can. I tried to reassure the dame that all would turn out fine for her, but my heart did not completely believe it. Something felt off about this room. I could not put my finger on it, but it was there. I knew it. Cool. Yes, something feels off. Yeah, what is the actual crime? Ask Miss Boulanger some questions. I took out a small notebook from my coat and flipped it open. If I kept my eyes on it and only focused on Miss Boulanger's voice, I may be able to avoid any distraction from her attractive figure. Gross. I feel like... So I read a decent amount of pulp. Not as much as I'd like, honestly. This wants to be noir. I just don't know if it's pulling from the right sources or what sources it's pulling from. Miss Sage, I started, taking my sweet time until I knew what to ask. I have some questions for you. You do? She sounded surprised. Yes. I tried to sound convincing. I just want to be, what's the word? Diligent. Yes, diligent in my work. I thought I explained everything back in your office. But if it helps... So here are our questions. Did you do it? Waste of a question. Are you sure no one touched anything? Also a waste of a question. Wait, is it still there? Who was there at the time of the incident? Do you have any enemies? Who do you think did it? So I don't know how this is structured game-wise. Maybe I'm a little gun-shy from, like, Deadline. Where it's like, nope, you have a 3-turn window in which to correctly ask this question. Alright, who is there? She tapped her lips with her finger. Mary, definitely. It was her time to care for the shop and serve customers. Rose was there as well, I think? She had mentioned wanting to test out some recipes. She looked towards the front room, hearing the little dog yap. Oh, and Parsley was there. The customers, can they get to this room? Absolutely not. She shook her head. No one but Rose, Mary, and I can come back here. I see. Scribbled in my notebook. Anyone else? Maybe? I don't know. I wasn't there. Huh? You weren't there. I just stated that. Then why are you accused of the deed? I don't know. That... I tried to find my words, utterly confused. That doesn't make sense. Why would people think you'd... Well, there's a door in this room leading to the outside. They think I came from here, but I didn't. The door's been locked even before we rented the place. Yet, they still accuse you. Yes. Where can I find Miss Mary and Miss Rose? Knowing them, Mary should be at the library just up north on 5th. Always in books, trying to find some new way of making candy. And Rose, well, with some luck, you'll find her browsing somewhere in some cooking store. Can't you be more specific? Time is of the essence, after all. I'm sorry, Detective. Unlike what you'd imagine of a patissiere, Rose is not the kind of person to keep a tight schedule or itinerary. That's not really helpful. If not you, who do you think did it? I really can't say, Detective Rye. She looks away. Come on, Miss Sage. I tried to nudge her. Your opinion would be useful. How should I know? I don't understand why someone would do such a thing in the first place. Not even your part. No! They would never try to put our business in peril. Wait, is it still there? It? You know, the remains. Oh, that, yes. It is still here. Strange. Why would the corpse still be in the room? Why wouldn't it have been moved? At the very least, the coroner's office or the mortuary would have taken care of it by now. The police didn't take the remains? The woman was taken aback. Why would they take that? Because that's their job? I said tentatively, confused by her reaction. Like they would do anything anyway. The woman scoffed. I told you already, they were completely useless. Doesn't that shock you? She shrugged. Do you have any enemies? Are you being serious? The woman snorted. Enemies? Yes, Miss Sage, enemies. Do you have any? Not really. I've never had any bad relations with anyone. I see. Does the business have some enemies? What? No. How about a rival or a competitor? Aside from the gingerbread house across the street? She shook her head. And I'm not sure if you should consider this place a competitor, really. We're not on the same level. She added haughtily. I don't have any other questions. Let's investigate the room. Well, I flipped my notebook closed and put it back in my coat. This was quite insightful. Thank you, Miss Sage, for your time. The dame only smiled faintly in response. Though I glanced around the room and felt very anxious about having to go through the mess to find clues, I knew it was time to get serious and look at it through the eyes of a detective. Before I seriously looked about, a chill ran down my spine and made me shiver. What was I about to find? Oh, Miss Boulanger noticed my shaking. Sorry about that, detective. Normally this room is as warm as summer because of the ovens. The room was quite small, the size of 5 toilet stalls at the courtroom. There were 2 doors, the one from which I entered the room, and the one on the opposite wall, blocked by a stack of boxes. Against the latter wall, stood some large and bulky ovens and a large mixing bowl, and hung what I assume were oven plates and the such. To my right, a closet had been lodged in the corner. just next to that other door. To my left stood a long and wide and messy counter. Right in the middle, the floor, was not one bit cleared of clutter, yet it seemed to be the place the dame could not take her eyes from. Was she avoiding looking at something else? Where was the corpse? So yeah, this is not a murder. Okay. Let's look at the counter. Moving the counter, I was somewhat dumbstruck to find the wooden bench so messy and dangerous, especially when this establishment dealt with food. Between the bloody knife and the broken glass shards, there was enough to use for an accident. Aside from the hazardous items, there was an open pack of flour, a half-empty glass, and a strange goop ball that looked like it exploded on top of some glass shards. Wonder if they ever cleaned this place. Hello, Roger. Besides me, Miss Boulanger was whimpering quietly. I rolled my eyes. What could there be in this part of the room that would have shaken her so? This corner looked as if a child had a bit too much fun rather than the setting for a murder. Alright, what is this strange goop ball? To the horror of Miss Sage, though I could not understand why, I poked the goop ball. It was sticky, and in some places hard as a rock. Disgusting. And here it is, the dame said between her tears. I don't understand how this could have happened. I'd been so careful with it. What? I made sure to feed it and water it like my Nona told me, and in the last decade, nothing ever happened to it. What? You fed the goop? Well, yes. She looked at me as if I should have known that. That, she pointed at the goopy ball, is the whole reason you're here. The goop. The sourdough starter, she corrected me. The goop. Yes, it's the base for all our breads here. The reason we're in business. Even Rose uses it sometimes. That's the corpse? Yes, she sighed, exasperated. They think I mess with it, but why would I? I really don't understand. Tee-hee. Continue investigating. A promise is a promise. So, I think about this already. There is a really good set of, like, I want to say late 80s or early 90s writings on, like, what makes a good puzzle. And one of the things, it might even be later than that, because I think Zarf is in one of them. And, like, one of the things that they talk about is that a puzzle should not require outside knowledge. Like, I know things about sourdough starters because I think sourdough is cool. And, like, my mom baked and, like, all of that. So, something that's catching my eye is normally this room is as warm as summer. But it's not. And, like, sourdough does need to sit at a certain temperature. I'm gonna go back to this counter, though. Where's the bloody knife? Delicately, I took the knife and inspected it closer. A drop of the strange crimson substance dripped and fell onto my shoe. Blast it! I wiped it with my hand and instinctively brought it to my mouth. Raspberry? Broken glass shards. The pieces made it seem it belonged to some sort of jar? Okay. Let's look at the floor. I finally took the plunge and delved right into the mess in front of me. It seemed like there was a lot to cover, with the broken glass scattered on the gray tiles, or that strange outline which was miles away from resembling anything. Even a corpse lying out looked less weird. And then there were some strange red spots littered around. Surprisingly, Miss Boulanger cared very little for this part of the room, when her gaze had been transfixed on it just earlier. I wondered if I had missed something. The thought made me snort. "Something funny, detective?" she said with reproach. I shook my head, muffling a laugh. Alright, strange outline. Let's go for it. I moved closer, trying to make sense of the outline with little luck. Something bothered me with it, too. Normally, the pigs would just use some low-grade chalk to line out a corpse, but here it was sugar? The broken glass, from the shape of the shards, it looked like it belonged to some sort of jar or container, but I didn't have time to put the puzzle together. Some strange red spots. For a brief moment, I thought it could have been blood spatter, but there was no way this was it. The pattern could not match any attack, nor did I notice any of those spots anywhere else in the room. Okay. Let's do one more thing and then head on out, because I don't think anything in here will tell us anything based on those two areas. The other closet. Everyone has a skeleton in their closet, so I expected to find something, anything hidden in there. Maybe. If I was lucky, I might even find the actual corpse. I wish there was state tracking, being like, okay, we're not looking for a corpse. This was at least my train of thought when I looked at the boring metal case to the right of the locked door. It was a bit rusted at the hinges, and there was a strange splatter in a dark crimson color at the bottom of the opening. I'll check the splatter. I wouldn't do... Miss Boulanger tried to stop me, but I didn't concern myself with her worries. I was investigating here. Crouched in front of the closet, tried to swipe the spatter with my finger and bring it as close to my eyes as possible. I said tried, because the substance was pretty sticky and dry. Though the color was concerning, the texture made me doubt whether it was actually blood. "What could you be?" I mumbled. "That's a little jam incident?" The woman answered unconvincingly. "Jam incident?" Mary tried to be innovative with her technique, but she's a bit clumsy. One jar might have slipped from her grasp. I see. That was disappointing. My hand reached for the handle and opened the closet. The door creaked with the nastiest and rustiest sound I'd ever heard before. The strident noise almost made my ears bleed. "You should probably get this fixed," I commented in passing. If Miss Boulanger replied, I did not catch it, as I was too enthralled by the content of the closet. From top to bottom, the shelves were organized with hundreds of ingredients and instruments and utensils, which I guess were needed for whatever cooking the gals were doing here. What a mess Mary made in here. What ingredients? There were jars of colorful stuff, packs with labels of flour on them, bottles of syrup and spices, and in one corner a rainbow of small containers with Miss Sage mentioned to be food coloring. Instruments. There were a bunch of different weights and thermometers and the likes. Everything looked clean and organized and boring. Whisks and spatulas and knives and more whisks and more spatulas. Alright. Leave the look to talk to other suspects. Thanking Miss Boulanger for her time, I took my leave from her to look for other suspects. This case was strange still, stranger even than when I entered Time for Sweets earlier. This definitely was not a usual case, for the corpse, well, was not a usual one. It did not matter as much as my promise to the dame. I would reclaim her honor and prove her innocence no matter what. But first, I needed to decide who to talk to, if I could find them, that is. Start with Rose. Sorry, you've reached the end of this path. This is not quite yet the end of the story. Thank you for playing The Rye in the Dark City. I hope you enjoyed what you read so far. So I do love that like, I think there's a lot here that's interesting for sure. I think it's a really well designed and crafted Twine game. What happens if I hit back? Oh, okay. Yeah, that was definitely interesting. And so this, actually, remember the seed for this one too. There was specifically like parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. And they were all like characters in a story that was like a very wide sketch of a story. So it's kind of interesting. So that was the first chapter, I guess, of The Rye in the Dark City. Very, very neat. Very cool. What's the next game we're going to play? Let's find out. The King's Ball. Ooh, it's a Parser game. Oh. Hello. It's a Parser game. Let's get things going. It's been a minute since we've had a Parser game. Especially on Text Adventure Tuesday. We've been doing all sorts of things other than Parser games, which I think is good and important and all that kind of stuff, but whoops. But it's kind of nice to go back to Parser. So, get our height fixed. There we go. Hello. It's been a minute since we've had a Parser. We're at the palace gates. Every year, the king holds an extravagant ball where he invites all the local dignitaries, and they lavish him with gifts. The king sells some of these gifts after the ball and uses the money to enterprising craftsmen. Uses the money to fund the ball the following year. More importantly, it also gives some of the money to enterprising craftsmen, tradesmen, and other small businesses to help them establish or improve their business. It's a very generous incentive, and it's very popular with the people, as all honest, hard-working folk have a chance to gain the king's favor. If you're not a dignitary and you get invited to the king's ball, then there's a fair chance you'll be able to present your business proposal to the king and maybe get some funding. You are the local baker. You work long hours making and selling wheat, barley, and rye breads. It's a living, but you dream of making sweet pastries, fruit cakes, gingerbread, and other delectable things you know would be popular. Unfortunately, you don't have enough time or resources to diversify. You need to get some funding from the king so that you can hire a couple of apprentices, expand your shop, and install some new ovens. There's just one problem. You haven't been invited to the ball. You come up with an ingenious plan. You bake the most gorgeous fruitcake. You can get into the palace and present your plans and your cake to the king. You're sure he would provide you with the funding you need. Leave the cake in the shop and set off to see if you can find a way into the palace. Looks easy enough. All you have to do is get past that guard. And actually, what did it seem? I forgot about this. There's cover images. There we go. We got a cool little cover image. King's Ball. Copyright 2023 Gary Francis. Type about for further info and credits. It's Inform 6. Puny Inform, actually. I don't know what the differences between all the informs are. You're faced by an imposing stone wall to the north. The only entrance is through the palace gates. You can see your objective, the king's palace, beyond the gates. A cobblestone street heads south from the gates and dirt laneway heads west. It's been so long since I've done a Parser game, I forgot to get something to write on. And like one of the things that I found really interesting about this game jam is that, you know, there's all the different kinds of interactive fiction here. Like there's parser games, there's twines, there's choice based. There's stuff that is none of that, which I'm really excited for. So I really do enjoy the fact that, like, in the interactive fiction world, there's a lot of ways to present text-based games. All right. Well, we start somewhere. So, north is broken. A cobblestone street heads south from the gates, and a dirt laneway heads west. You can see the palace gates, a sentry box, and a guard here. Well, if Jeram were here, we have goals. Your name is Benjamin, but everyone calls you Benny. You're a baker, and you believe you're the best baker in town. You must be, because you're the only baker in town. You'd normally be dressed in a flower-covered apron over your work duds, but today, you're dressed in your Sunday best so that you can get into the King's Ball. Cool. Zizzy response. Magic words won't get you into the King's Ball. Alright. Let's, look at nouns. Ex-guard. He's a middle-aged bearded man dressed like a halberdier. He holds a halberd in his right hand. He's wearing a tunic in the red and yellow livery of the king, a ceremonial helmet, and a breastplate. How deep does this go? The body of a tunic is concealed by the breastplate, but the exposed sleeves and skirt reveal a large checkered pattern in red and yellow. It reminds you of rose petals and egg yolk. Alright, let's keep going. Breastplate is light iron or steel covering that protects the chest. It's attached to the backplate with leather straps at the shoulders and sides. Okay. What about the halberd? It's a two-handed polearm with a long wooden shaft. At the top of the shaft is an axe head and a sharp point, like a spear. Strikes you as being an impractical weapon to use in the confines of a sentry box, so it's probably just for decoration to scare off bakers that are trying to crash the king's ball. The sentry box is a small wooden structure that's shaped a bit like a house, but it's only big enough to hold one person standing up. You can see a large key hanging on a hook inside the sentry box, but you can't get it to it because the guard is blocking the entrance. Okay? Fair? And then let's look at these gates. The gates consist of vertical bars with ornate decorations and a lock that takes a large key. The gates are currently closed. Well, can we just open the gates? They're locked. Okay. Fine. Let's go west. The guard yells, "Oi, where do you think you're going?" You try to explain that your backyard is down that way. Don't matter. No one goes down there during the king's ball. Alright. Well then, south. This is the main road to the palace. It heads north and south. It's currently lined with townsfolk hoping to catch a glimpse of the dignitaries going to the ball. You can see lots of people and a hitching post here. This is one of the king's innovations. He had hitching posts installed in the main streets so that people could hitch their horses and wagons. A middle-aged woman tried standing on her tippy toes to see past the crowd. Okay. Let's look at people. There are a lot of people pushing and jostling one another to get a good view of the street. The cobblestones are worn smooth by horses' hooves and wagon wheels. Anything else here? People, hitching post, dignitaries? Nope. Cool. Well then, let's just go south. This is the town square, where people normally meet to share news and gossip. It's always a hive of activity. Today, it's crowded with people wanting to see who's going to the king's ball. A short promenade heads to the north. The street branches to the east and west, but the east branch is blocked with people. You can see lots of people, a hitching post and a fountain, which contains some water here. Okay, so we have more people, a hitching post, and a fountain. Let's look at the fountain. The fountain is purely functional. It's connected to an underground spring and provides drinking water for the townsfolk. You see something glitter in the water. The fountain contains a coin and some water. You briefly see Farmer Joe in the crowd. Okay. Get coin. Taken. X coin. It's a roughly cast silver coin with the king's head stamped on one side and the royal crest on the other. Little girl points at you and says, "Mummy, is that the baker?" Oh, what is the small key? Oh, it's the key to your shop. Let's try to push through east. Can't squeeze through the throng of people. Okay. Let's go west. This is kind of cool. It's got more of that, like, sort of limited vibe that I really liked out of the Witchwood and the other Larsoft games from like the ZX Spectrum. I like the idea of smaller games, smaller parser games, small things like that. So I personally feel like it's got that same kind of feel in like a good positive way. The butcher shop is to the north. It's closed at the moment as the butcher is supplying the meat for the king's ball. The street slopes down to the west and flattens out to the east. You can see a hitching post and a vegetable cart. Well, hey, this is Farmer Joe's hand cart. It's only small, but it's loaded with crates of vegetables. He brings it to town about once a week to sell his vegetables. He always ties it to the same hitching post outside the butcher's shop using a short length of rope. Get rope. You have to untie it first. Untie rope. You untie the rope from the vegetable cart, then turn around and untie it from the hitching post. While your back is turned, you hear clattering on the cobblestones. You turn back to see that the vegetable cart is slowly rolling down the hill and has revealed a manhole in the street. Then you hear an almighty crash. Oh no. What have you done? Okay. Let's look at this manhole. Manhole is in the street near the hitching post. It's sealed by a manhole cover. Open the manhole cover. You can't get your fingers around the handle. You need a hook or something to grab it. No more cart. Well, let's go west. Your bakery is to the north. The sign out front says Benny's Bakery. The street slopes up to the east and down towards the river to the west. You can see a bakery door, a hitching post, a vegetable cart, some potatoes, and a wooden crate here. This is Farmer Joe's hand cart. Unfortunately, some dill untied it from the hitching post outside the butcher's shop and rolled it down the hill and crashed it into another hitching post outside your bakery. One crate of potatoes has fallen off, and potatoes are scattered all over the street. Farmer Joe won't be pleased when he finds out. Get potato taken. What does a potato look like? Potatoes are a recent invention. Farmer Joe was introduced to them by a Spaniard, and everyone knows that Spaniards are not to be trusted. The townsfolk won't eat them because they think they will catch leprosy. In fact, they call them hog feed. Interesting. Open door. Unlock door with key. Open door. North. This is your bakery. It's well stocked with various breads baked from wheat, barley, or rye. It's all pretty boring, really, because you see it every day of the week. There are exits to the north and south. You see a bakery door and a cake here. This is the fruit cake that you made for the king. It's made from an old family recipe with some improvements of your own. It contains dried fruit, citrus rind, and a good helping of rum. Let's look at these breads. Nope. Let's go north. You're in the backyard of your bakery. It's all bare earth because the chickens have picked it clean. The chicken coop is to the west. There's a back gate to the north, or you can return to the bakery to the south. Well, You can also see a back gate, some chickens, and some empty flour sacks here. Well, get sacks. It's an empty flour sack made of hessian. It's quite damp from being outdoors. And then let's look at a chicken. These are Dorking chickens. Someone told you that they were introduced during the Roman occupation, which makes them the oldest breed of chicken in England. The only thing that matters to you, though, is that they're good layers of the small eggs that you use in your cake recipes. Can we just get a chicken? You chase the chickens around the yard for 5 minutes and realize that you'll never catch them unless both arms are free. You need to drop everything if you expect to catch those damn chickens. Drop all. Get chicken. You round up the chickens. You're carrying some chickens. Put chickens in sack. You put the chickens into the empty flour sack. Get all. So there's little things that I'm not gonna really harp on with this. It's just little things like it's an empty flour sack which contains some chickens. Like, there's at least in Inform 7. I know this is Inform 6 and Puny Inform, which is a different implementation. But at least in Inform 7, there's a way to go, hey, did you do the thing? Well, we're going to change the name of this item. Just would have been nice to do, like, little stuff like that. And this is why... this is why I think it's important if you're, like, talking about games and trying to be critical of games. And critical not in, like, a negative way, but in, like, if you play enough games, you should end up with an opinion of how to make a game that feels good and does... Like, you should know what goes into a good game. And I think it's important that at least you, even if you don't release anything, play with some of the tools of making games so that you know what you're looking at and you can be like, okay, this is difficult, or like, I never understood how to do that. That's really cool. Or I never understood how to do that, but I know that it's a very standard part and there is a way to do it. Can we get more sacks? No. Alright, let's keep going north. You can't, since the back gate is closed. So that's, like, interesting, too. I genuinely thought that, like... Oh, it's locked. Well, unlock gate. You slide the latch open. The gate is now locked. Open gate. You can't open the gate now or the chickens will get out. I put the chickens away. You can't since the back gate is closed. Oh. Well, put the chickens in the coop. This is where the chickens live when they aren't scratching about in the backyard. It's also where they lay their eggs. The exit is to the east. There are no eggs. Egg straw. This is a bunch of dry straw where the hens nest. You know there's no eggs there because you collected them this morning to make the king's cake. Oh, wait. There's an egg you must have missed in the dim morning light. Well, get egg. X egg. It's a small egg from one of your Dorking chickens. Drop sack. Here we go east. We should be able to open gate now. Why would the chickens get out? Get sack. Okay, wait a minute. We have empty flour sack, egg, cake, potatoes, rope, coin, small key. We're looking for something to open a manhole with. And it's not about the chickens, because the chickens were in another room. Can we also get the straw? Yeah, you take a handful of straw. Great. It's a simple wooden gate between your backyard and the laneway. It's currently closed. The latch that locks the gate is on this side. Jump over gate. You would achieve nothing by this. Is that true? Would I achieve nothing by this? I don't know if that's true. In fact, I have thoughts about whether or not that's true. Because I could think of a number of things that would actually accomplish. I'm just saying. And I don't know how I feel. I don't know. So, yeah, I don't know. So I'm looking at the wonderful thread by Amanda B. See if there's any good hints. It looks like I'm not sure. Looks like she didn't get around to this game. Oh, there we go. Okay. Says puzzle difficulty was on the easy side. Okay, well, great. Well, if we go west, there's nothing much to see in the chicken coop apart from straw. Well, take out chickens. Take chickens. Drop bag. Okay. X sack. It's an empty flour sack. Drop sack. Get sack. You've already taken one. How many empty flour sacks could you possibly need? Don't shame me. Okay. Well, get chicken? That's hardly portable. Okay. Okay, back gate is to the north. Back gate is closed. Open gate. You can't open the gate now or the chickens will get out, but there's no chickens in here. And the chickens are stuck in the bag in the coop. We can't jump over the gate. You know, it's interesting because I said that this felt like those ZX Spectrum games. And hey, I liked one so much that I implemented it in Inform for funsies. But I realize that I needed that walkthrough when I was playing that game, because there were things that only made sense to the author at the time. I think specifically, I think about like in the Nine Dancers, when the answer to a puzzle was jumping on something that it didn't make sense to me to jump on. All right. So there's a back gate. We can't open the gate. I know I just need to get through this gate. I've gotten rid of the chickens. There's some hints in the comments above. Okay. I mean, definitely thoughts are always good. This is why, in part, I enjoy playing with my wonderful co-host who will, with luck, be back next week. Because I'm sitting here and I'm like, well, what do I need to do? And in reading this thread, and I don't think I should have to read the thread, but in reading this thread, I'm wondering if my thought of putting the chickens in the sack was a bad idea. Because it didn't... What I'm betting is that it didn't flag that the chickens are no longer in this area. Just thinking out loud. And I don't know if they implemented taking things out of the sack. Chickens dropped. Okay. Yeah, that's exactly what was going on. Get sack. I also wanted the chickens. So you know what? You know what? Put chickens in sack. Get chicken. Drop all. Get chickens. Put chickens in sack. Get all. Always interesting. Alright. So you're at the corner of a laneway which extends to the east in an alley that goes north. The high palace wall dominates the northeast corner. A rickety wooden fence allows the south edge of the laneway with a gate opposite the alley to the south. You can see a back gate here. It's our back gate. What happens if we go north? You're at the end of an alley. Palace wall is to the east, broken only by a large wooden gate. The only way out of the alley is to the south. You can see a farrier's gate and a padlock here. This is a large wooden gate that provides access to and from the farrier's stable. The gate is as high as the surrounding stone wall. The gate is closed and locked by a large padlock. It's a large iron padlock that locks the farrier's gate. So there's some kind of key. The only other way... The stone wall surrounds the palace. It's an imposing structure, maybe 10 or 12 feet high. If you're not a human battering ram, there's no way to go through it, but you may be able to go under it or over it. Interesting. I would assume under it by way of the sewers. But we'll see. Let's go east. You're in a laneway that extends to the east and west. The northern side of the laneway is dominated by the high palace wall, and the southern side is lined by a rickety wooden fence. There's a gate in the fence. You can see a wooden gate here. Let's look at it. It's a rickety wooden gate between the butcher's backyard and the laneway. The gate is currently closed. Open gate. You open the wooden gate. So we're in the backyard of the butcher's shop. You're in the butcher's overgrown backyard. There's nothing noteworthy here apart from the gate to the north and some bins and the tangle of grass and weeds. The butcher's shop is to the south, but that's clearly locked to prevent intruders like you getting in. You can see a wooden gate and some garbage bins here. Search bins. Can't see inside since open bins. You open the garden bins, revealing some bones. X bones. They look like animal bones. You're not a butcher, so you can't identify which bones come from which animal, but you presume them to be mainly pigs and sheep. Many of the bones have been broken to remove the marrow. Well, get bones. Take him. The butcher might have left his back gate open, but he's not silly enough to leave his shop open. Fair. So there's grass here. The butcher once had a goat to eat the grass and weeds, but he slaughtered it for meat to sell in his shop. You have a quick rummage through the grass and find a meat hook. Get hook. North, west, south, 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 east, pull cover with hook. Oof. It's heavy. You pull the manhole cover out of the manhole frame and then push it to one side. Oh my god, there's a terrible pong coming out of the sewer below. You really want to go down there? Yeah. Yeah, I do. Yes? That was a rhetorical question. Psst. Cute. What if I say yes now? You're in the sewer beneath the street. How could anything smell so bad? The sewer comes from the north and bends towards the west. There's a manhole above you. You can see a manhole here. You suddenly remember that you're wearing your Sunday best. They're going to be filthy. Yeah, that's fine. I want to go north. You're in the sewer from the palace. It really stinks here. The sewer continues to the north, but the tunnel is too small to follow it. The main sewer heads south, and that's high enough for you to stand. You can see a grate here. That's great. It's a heavy iron grate with narrow slits. It's blocking an opening in the roof of the sewer above your head. See a rat scuttle past in the dim light. Meat hooks, some bones, an empty flour sack with some chickens, a handful of straw, an egg, a cake, some potatoes, a rope, a coin, and some keys. Okay. You think to yourself, I've got to get out of here before I catch some horrible disease. Well, let's go west. The sewer slopes downward to the river. It's very slippery and you likely slip and break your neck. Apart from which, your objective is to the north. Well, then why give me this option to go west? So yeah, I go north. It's too small to go any further north. You'll have to find another way. Smell. How could anything smell so bad? Alright. You would normally be dressed... yeah. You would normally be dressed in a flour-covered apron over your work duds. But today you're dressed in your Sunday best so that you can get into the King's Ball. Unfortunately, you really stink after trudging through the sewer. You need to do something about that or they'll never let you in the ball. Okay. Let's go north. Oh, right. Jump in fountain. You can't enter that. So everybody's like, ew, you smell. Great. So why would you let me go? Why would you let me go down there? Talk to guard. What do you want? Questions the guard. He doesn't sound very friendly. You better get out of here before I run you through. Drop chickens. You aren't holding them. Empty sack. I don't want to just give up 20 minutes in. It's interesting because, like, this is, and I've said this before, this is an old school Parser game. I've made 163 moves, and what have I accomplished? I have gotten myself further and further from what I need to be doing. Give guard coin. Guard doesn't seem interested. Has only been 20 minutes. So I gotta keep telling myself. I have done that. Thank you. I mean, I haven't met a pig to make the potatoes anything. I think if I go east from the other way, so south, south, west, west, north, 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 east, east, and I'm back to the palace gate. Sorry, I'm just thinking right now. You know, and it's interesting. I was talking to a friend about like puzzles in games and what makes a good puzzle and like what makes a good riddle. Because they're a big fan of riddles, and I'm always just like, nah, you can kind of miss me with those. And I think puzzles in games are a very major challenge. And there's like, I was actually talking about it before, the article about, like, I think it was a debate actually about what makes a good puzzle. And one of the things that the panelists had said was that good puzzles aren't lock and key puzzles. And I struggle with that because I think almost any puzzle that you do, unless it's like a logic puzzle, and even then, is just a fancy lock and key. I'm feeling like I'm not getting... And maybe it's just because I'm being small brain right now, and I just want to be spoon fed it. I feel like I'm not getting what needs to be the lock here. So the lock is obviously the guard. Let me look at this sentry box. It's a small wooden structure that's shaped a bit like a house, but it's only big enough to hold one person standing up. You can see a large key hanging on a hook inside the sentry box. You can't get to it because the guard is blocking the entrance. Okay. So the hint says, hide in a location adjacent to the laneway and yell or shout or scream. Hide in a location adjacent to the laneway and yell. That did not work. I think I'm going to save, and we'll come back to this. I need some more water. I think it's a good time to take a quick streamer union break. Thanks for hanging out, y'all, and thanks for checking out these games with me. I will be back in a couple minutes, and enjoy the tunes. That's perfect timing with the music and everything. How nice. I think the better part of Valor here is to come back to this game. I think that, I mean, it's a parser game and it's puzzle based for sure. It's a little rough around the edges, and it's definitely like a throwback style of parser game. You know, I said at the beginning that it really reminded me of the ZX Spectrum games that I played. And in that light, some of the stuff that I think that a modern parser game probably should have, maybe doesn't need to be there. I do think it's cool though. All right, let's do another game. Let's see what's next. I'll saved. I'll come back to that. What comes next? Let's try to get one or two more. All right. In a minute, there is time. This is totally self-contained. I like that. I think that's cool. Make it just a skosh bigger. Let me reverse the clocks, the hours in which I die a million times, in a million ways in a single minute. Standing stiff as rigor mortis, they're in the corner where no one is watching for every time they laugh and turn away. I can't help but calculate decisions like a survivor, shipwrecked and stranded in a sea of revisions of choices never made, which haunt me nonetheless. A coffin where even a minute mistake can lead to ends that will undo me. Let me do them in reverse. Oh no. I walk along the cobblestone streets of London, watching the evening fall before me. Brown buildings crowd together in the purpling light, and the moon feebly hangs in the far distance. I consider where to lead you next. It's just shy of 6 o'clock and the street lamps are starting to be lit. The scent of chestnuts is just barely detectable within the heavy fog, and smoke drifts from apartments high above us. The streets are nearly deserted at this time. Most people have gone home for the evening or found some hotel to stay the night. Still, I spot 2 men who are in a conversation on the corner near the oyster bar, a dog accompanying them. An incredible small Yorkshire Terrier leashed by the man with a hat. Its expression is doleful and dour, which contrasts in the amusing manner with the bow on its head. Whenever a small item slips from the pockets of the one-eyed merchant, the dog quickly licks it up. This man is nodding reverse. In a minute, there is time for decisions and revisions, which minute will reverse. Oh, this is cool. This is really neat. I talk a lot about hypertext, and I talk a lot about like what some of the promises of Twine could be. Let's look at the credits really quick. Writing by Aster, Fiala, and T.S. Eliot, with primary inspiration from Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock, The Wasteland, Rhapsody on a Windy Night, a smattering of references to other poems. I wrote the poem on the landing page. Interesting. Oh. Visited places already figured out. I consider where to lead you next. You and I walk through the streets, or rather you lead and I lead and you follow. Arguing with me has always been a tedious endeavor, so you have elected not to convince me to turn back home, or even to ask where I might be taking you. I appreciate you from that. Let's go near the oyster bar. The pungent odor of oysters is of course what hits the senses first. Dim lanterns hang from a drooping ceiling and sawdust buries the floor. Bar patrons laugh and jostle each other on their stools, tipping drinks into mouths dried from endless chatter. Outside on the street, the cooling evening awaits. At the bar, a lady is loudly and animatedly acting out the conversation she had with her friend about another conversation. Some of the people So I really like this. I'm not totally sure if it's great for this format, but we're going to do it anyway. We're going to do it a few times. I think this is really neat. Let's go you, streets, bar, chatter, sawdust. This bar isn't the classiest place, as proven by the heavily trampled sawdust. Tracked footprints that reveal the wooden floor beneath are ghost-like signs of past patrons' presence, but they're quickly exorcised by the shoes of harried waiters. The fragment of oyster shells, stains left by spilled drinks and more lie embedded in the sifting dust. The stains of less than holy spirits seep into the sawdust. The bar has oysters on ice in a display case, their shells gaping as if surprised at where they've ended up. A strong, briny smell, which is released as... I think a minute is too short. I know I'm reading this out loud, which makes it even slower. I like the bolding here. I think that's very neat. Let's do buildings. The shops and apartments close in, a coffin lid sliding into place over the blackened path, the pallid faces on the streets. Two familiar retreats bend out into the gloom, the hotel and the oyster bar. I can hear the muttering of patrons within both haunts, and there might be the whine of a mandolin from somewhere nearby. As well, two men and a dog mutter in conversation on the corner. You can hear the conversation progressing on the other side of the street. Stetson! You were with me in the ships at Mylae. The one-eyed man's accent seems to be somewhere in the Greek Isles, though it doesn't sound modern to my ears. That corpse you planted last year in your garden, has it begun to sprout? Will it bloom this year? Or has the sudden frost disturbed its bed? The dog begins to yap and growl at this until Stetson has to pull him back. Merchant laughs. Oh, keep the dog. Far hence, that's friend to men. I think the timer and the timed words are a little much. That's just me. Let's do a couple more runs. Watching the evening. Evening splays out on the stone slab of the streets behind the uneven building skyline, growing cold and numb from the foggy fumes that fill the air. Its jaundiced yellow, withered rose, and sterile gray colors mixed together much like a bruise. The sun has slipped into unconsciousness below the horizon, while the moon drags herself from a shadowed bed. The moon has been caught in a sleepy half-wink tonight, so old that she forgets to brighten the cobblestone streets much as all. Alas, we must rely on the street lamps to guide us. The street lamps sputter as the gas within their bulbs cough out light. They helpfully point out the missing cobblestones in the streets, the alleyways to avoid, and the crumbling brick of the surrounding buildings. The fog prowls along the streets and smothers building with a foul... This is a nice counterpoint to the last game. I think it's cool. We also only have a minute every time to play with this. Let's do one more. Let's do buildings. Let's do mandolin. The fog is doing a good job of muting it, but the hints of someone plucking away at a mandolin can be caught on the breeze if I strain my ears for the highest notes. Slightly off key, the tune could perhaps be in the general direction of the oyster bar, but really could be from anywhere within the meandering streets. It's hard to say for sure. The fog prowls along the streets and smothers buildings with a foul, rotten egg stench. It's nearly thick enough to caress under the fingers. Two men converse next to the oyster bar, illuminated by the street lamps. More accurately, one man with a black eye who looks like a merchant talks at another man with a hat and a leashed dog at his feet. Their conversation seems unusual. One of this man's eyes is bruised and completely swollen shut, perhaps from a fight in the nearby bar. So I talk about hypertext a lot. This provides that desire that I want to actually have hypertext in interactive fiction, in Twine games, in all of these things. I think that's very cool. I also think it's cool that it does it strictly within HTML, strictly within one file. This is really neat. Reading stuff out loud definitely takes more time than reading it physically. I think 1 minute is the point that it's short, but I think it's short. That was cool. Let's check out another game. In a tomb with a donkey. Well, well. Let's hide that wheel. What's going on here? There we go. In a tomb with a donkey. Just like it says on the tin. Trying to figure out exactly how to lay this out for everyone. Take that cover image away. Oop. We went to full screen mode. Interesting. Oh, big screen these days. When a white arrow appears on the screen, press the down key to continue reading the text. Well, something happened. In a Tune with a Donkey, D. Cook, 2023. Graded for SeedComp 2023. Adventure On. Story based on the seed in a tomb with a donkey. This is very, like it says on the tin. Adventure On system created by Chris Ainsley. In-game font, Open Sans. Cover font, Papyrus. Cover image and design by D. Cook with a little help from GIMP. Playtesting by Geth Rees. Have you played parser-based text adventures or interactive fiction before? Let's say no. In parser-based games, you control the action by typing commands. Example of commands are examine dog, if there's a dog in the scene you want to look at it more closely. Get ball, if there's a ball in the scene and you want to pick it up. Or go north, if it's possible to go north to a different scene. Type help during the game for help. Type display for help with toggling display settings. Type hint for hint. Type V or verbs and see all the verbs you need to use in the game. Walkthrough is available. Type T-start to start a transcript. T-stop to stop it. All transcripts, comments, bug reports, and other feedback are welcome. Please send them to sparklecloud@hotmail.com. It truly is a new low. Being chased out of an ancient palace by sword-wielding guards like some kind of common thief. Thief? The nerve. Let's scoot this over just a bit. But these immagical primitives could never hope to understand why you needed the pharaoh's sacred parchment so desperately. You sigh as the stolen donkey you're riding clumsily crashes along through the sand. Your great rival, the evil wizard Snackajack, really did a number on you this time. You were so close to defeating him, to winning the annual spellcasting competition like you'd always dreamt of. And now you're stuck in ancient Egypt, your spells and even some of your innate powers scattered to the winds. The guards are close. You have to run. Well, let's try run. You urge the donkey onwards into the sandstorm. It would have been helpful if Snackajack's blast hadn't damaged your ability to talk to animals. However, you vaguely remember how to use reins. The sandstorm looks dangerous, but the guards hopefully won't be stupid enough to follow you. And you have advantages they don't. All you have left is one spell in your wand, along with your power to literalize the written word, to turn it into the item it represents. Unfortunately, this power only works in English, and written English is hard to come by in ancient Egypt, which was why you were in the palace in the first place. The chasing pack is thinned out, many of them floundering in the driving sand, but others press on, some of them gaining on you. All you can do is run. Well, X, whoops, oh no. I like that full screen. X me. You don't have time for that. You need to run. Well, fine. Run. You press on, glancing at the saddlebag full of borrowed parchments. These are letters written by an English wizard who previously visited this time zone. You could sense them as soon as you were blasted here, and you thought it would be a simple task to remove them from the palace. But the Pharaoh, while he cannot possibly understand the letters' meaning, apparently considers them to be sacred texts, and so they were a lot more heavily guarded than you anticipated. The sandstorm blows ever more wildly around you, but through it all, you can sense something else. The spells lost from your wand are up ahead, somewhere. A renewed sense of hope lights your path. You've lost all but 3 of the guards, and you risk a glance backwards. Despite the thickness of the sand in the air, you can see the unmistakable determination in the captain's eyes. You have no choice but to keep running. As you snatch the reins to speed up the donkey, a particularly strong gust of sand snatches the bag of parchments away from the saddle. You clutch after it, but it's gone in an instant. You groan. It's not like you'd actually formulated a plan for what to do with the letters, not yet. But they would almost certainly have proven useful. As the location of your lost spells becomes ever clearer to your senses, you dimly see some kind of entrance up ahead. It's dark and already half buried in the sand, but with the spells still in your possession, you should be able to escape the guards and buy yourself some time. Just a few more yards left to run. It takes a fearful few seconds, but you manage to convince the donkey to squeeze through the sand-piled entrance. Once inside, you quickly dismount, turn towards the entrance, and squint into the distance through the howling sandstorm. 2 guards are still in pursuit. They'll be on you in a matter of minutes. But you have a trick up your sleeve. Type magic to see what powers and spells are available to you. You can see a donkey and a small sarcophagus. From here, you can go to the north. You can see the guards approaching the entrance. Time to use that magic spell. Well, okay. We have where we start. We can go north. Start with the most important thing, X donkeys. It's a donkey you borrowed when you needed to make a hasty exit from the Pharaoh's palace. The guards are getting closer. You need to block them from reaching you by casting your spell. Well, fine magic. You have powers, innate magical powers that you can use even when wandless. Literalize, the power to literalize the written word. For example, to turn the written word apple into an actual apple. Only works on written English. Type literalize object to use this power. Animal talking. Currently damaged and unusable. When available, you will automatically be able to talk to animals verbally, no matter their origin. Spells. Time scramble. Creates a time bubble around the user's location. To the user, time will appear stable and set to the user's native time zone within the bubble and scrambled outside. To anyone outside the bubble at the point of casting, the user will seemingly disappear. Type scramble time to cast this spell and unscramble time to reverse it. Well, scramble time. You focus on the entrance, visualizing the walls of the structure in which you find yourself. You raise your wand and mutter the words of the time scramble spell. Magic rolls in your mind and a faint pink haze appears around the entrance of the room. The guards rushing towards you through the sandstorm slowly fade, and then reappear more quickly, and then become part of a strange, unfollowable blur. As the time scramble outside the structure reaches its full speed, your surroundings subtly shift too, becoming musty, ancient, powerful. Here, for now, you are back in your own time zone. However, you won't be able to leave the structure until you've recovered your time travel spell, which enables you to travel through time in a safer and more stable manner. You just have to hope that all your spells did indeed end up here. You can sense them, but they're faint. You'll have to go exploring. Alright. That's a really cool introduction. I don't know what was added by having to type run. But I dig it. Alright, let's look at the sarcophagus. The small sarcophagus is weathered and chipped, its once gold paint having nearly all flaked away. The remains of its lid are scattered on the floor. A mummified cat sits serenely inside the sarcophagus, so well preserved it could have been placed there yesterday. You sense an indignant impatience from the soul within. Something is tucked into the mummified cat's bandages. Open bandages. Doesn't look like you can open the bandages. X bandages. You carefully remove the small item tucked into the mummified cat's bandages. You sense some reluctance from the soul within, but also an agreement that it will allow you to have it. Just this once. The item looks like a map, though it's mostly burnt and illegible. Get map. You already have the map. Read map? Doesn't look like you can read anything on the map. X map. It looks to be a map of the tomb, though most of the actual map part has been burned away, and so it's fairly useless. The remains of a legend at the bottom of the map say door in English. Okay, when I need a door, I can literalize? Literalize. This dusty room is in a bad state of disrepair, with crumbled stone everywhere and cracks in the walls. You can tell from the indentations in the dust that there were once many treasures here. Presumably, they've all been spirited away by robbers, adventurers, and unscrupulous archaeologists. A skeleton, possibly the remains of one of the above, sits propped up against the wall in the corner. You can see a donkey, a chest, a boulder, and a skeleton. From here, you can go to the south and the east. X chest. A wooden chest sits on the ground, clearly put there a lot more recently from your viewpoint than ancient Egyptian times. It's closed. Open chest. You open the chest. It's filled to the brim with wooden coins. Get coins. You have no need for wooden coins. Witches generally don't carry money, especially low value money. Oh yeah, X me. You are Evidence Sweet, a nicely up-and-coming, if you do say so yourself, young witch in the discipline of non-combative spellcasting. You are determined to be the first non-combative specialist to win the annual spellcasting competition, and you would have achieved your dream several years ago if you hadn't kept being pitted against your arch-rival Snackajack, an evil wizard who breaks the rules in order to defeat you every year. Who lets an evil wizard into a magic competition anyway? And why does everybody else think he's a perfectly nice person? Anyway, one day that trophy will be yours. That's a promise. Oh yes, it will be mine. Let's look at this boulder. A large, heavy-looking boulder is sitting next to the east wall, blocking access to a crumbling doorway. Right. A dusty old skeleton sits propped up in the corner of the room. He's wearing a fine leather jacket. There's something of an odd glow about him for someone who's been dead for so long. You thought you could see a glow around the skeleton earlier. Well, get the jacket. You poke cautiously at the skeleton's jacket. It's a bit fragile for you to remove completely. Besides, that would be more than a little creepy. However, you might be able to unfasten it at the front. Skeleton's jacket is a very fine leather specimen. It's in much better condition than its owner, but still looks fairly fragile. Unfastened jacket. You find the front fastenings of the skeleton's jacket and carefully open it up. An orange flickering light catches your eye from inside the skeleton's rib cage. It's one of your missing spells. You quickly catch it with your wand before it can escape again. You have recovered the sweetening spell. Sweetening allows you to make edible objects taste sweeter. Type sweeten object to use this spell. Well, every object's edible if you try hard enough. Oh, we can only go south and east, so I'm going to literalize door. Wouldn't be sensible to try and literalize a door from the map as is. There's too much conflicting information on the paper. You need to isolate the door somehow. Okay. What happens if we look at the dust? You're just glad you don't have an allergy. Well, alright, let's go south. The time blur outside the tomb is fascinating, but you'd better not get too close. Time bubbles are unstable things. So, the mummified cat sits, serene yet indignant, inside the small sarcophagus. Its neck is primly adorned with lockets and amulets. The mummified cat's neck is primly adorned with lockets and amulets. Yes. Okay. So I've only played a few Adventuron games. I find it very interesting, you know, even in 2023. There's definite feels and writing styles to each of the Parser languages. And I find that interesting in large part because, like, you know, I do some coding, but like it's just interesting to see that, like, oh, I wrote this parser in Adventuron. This is why I feel this way about it. And the reason why I bring that up is that I find Adventuron games tend to have very specific verbs and like very specific paths to get to the next step. So I think I've found everything there. Can't go any other way. There are a lot of indentations in the dust where treasure used to sit. Can we get skeleton? You are absolutely not the kind of witch who goes around picking up skeletons. Fair? Okay. So what did it say when I tried to literalize the door? Wouldn't be sensible to try and literalize a door from the map as is. There's too much conflicting information on the paper. You need to isolate the text somehow. Tear map. You carefully tear the word door out of the map, creating a small fragment. The rest of the paper fritters away into the dust. You make sure that the fragment is set firmly on the ground and then focus on the word door. Magic rolls in your mind and the fragment disappears in a flash. Before you, a doorway appears in the north wall, and so does a grumpy-looking guard standing in front of it. You groan. You most definitely did not literalize him. There must have been something strange going on with the paper. The guard stares moodily straight ahead. Just trying to go north, the guard grumbles in a language you don't understand and moves in front of you to block your way. Sweeten, guard. It doesn't need sweetening. Yeah, so we have this guard. Just stares moodily straight ahead. Let's look at the wand. It's your wand containing your spells. Type magic to see which spells are available to you. So you can't get the cat. Unscramble time. You shouldn't do that when you can't see what's going on outside the time bubble. There could be anything out there. So we can't go east. Push. Boulder? Boulder is too heavy for you to move with your bare hands. Talk to guard. You can't understand anything the guard says, and he's speaking a language you don't know. This is not my day with Parser games. This is not my day with Parser games. Okay. You don't feel it would be safe to unscramble time until you found the time travel spell, as those guards will still be outside. Punch guard? You are a non-combative spellcaster. You leave the violent stuff to the less refined. Give guard jacket. I mean, the north doorway. A new doorway has appeared to the north. In the east doorway, a crumbling doorway stands to the east. A large, heavy boulder. Maybe if we search the donkey. What kind of verbs? I don't want spoilers. Answer, ascend, ask, button, climb, close, cross, cut, descend, drop. Eat, empty, examine. Fasten, feed, fill. Get, give, go. Halt, hop, mount. Maybe if I mount. The donkey looks indignant and sidesteps your attempt. Fair. Roll boulder. It's too heavy to move with my bare hands. Show guard wand. Okay. Tip? Tip. Guard. Doesn't look like you can tip the guard. Let's look at the jacket. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's just because I'm a little fried or what. Or if it's actually like I'm missing something with these games. This is the second Parser game where like very early on in the game I am stuck. Let's try the cracks. There are a lot of cracks in the walls. You peer into them, but there's only darkness there. Turn guard? No. So I feel like there's something that I could use. So it's not magic. Place? Oh, that's like put. Climb boulder? Can't see any way to climb it. Let me try move boulder. Talk to guard about boulder. You don't need to ask or tell characters about in this game. Just talk to them to see what they have to say. You suppose you could talk to the boulder, but you doubt you'd get much of a response. The cat doesn't respond, perhaps because it's an unknown ancient soul and it has an image to maintain. So we don't have much, we just have this wand. And we have a donkey. You know, I'm just not sure. And I won't lie, this is my experience with a lot of Adventure On games. And I don't know, like... I don't know how I feel about the competition-based nature of interactive fiction. Like, it's good that people get eyes on new works and things like that. Obviously, that's really important and really valuable. But, like, I wonder if it promotes this kind of thing, like something that was tested. Maybe I'm just missing something really basic, but something that was tested that isn't going to let you have maybe like the promise of what the game is. But on the other hand, we've had some really wonderful either examples or like inversions of what people want. So maybe it's just sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some. There's a lot here that I like. I think the writing's really good. From what I've seen of it, I think they are really judicious in what they describe. But I'm really not sure. I'm not even sure what to do. As it has exactly rolled over to midnight, I think that's a good time to take a break on SeedComp. We will be back this week with FMV Friday. I've got something I'm kind of excited about. I've got a showcase of digital pictures games. We will probably not play any to completion, but we have at least 3 games, maybe 4, that were released on MS-DOS and Windows that are really from one of the pioneers and also biggest advocates for FMV games. If you go on the Discord, there is a really cool link in a gaming magazine that is a really great interview with the president of Digital Pictures. I just think there's a lot that's really cool here. So I really want to check them out as pioneers in the genre. So that's what we're going to do Friday. And then starting next week, maybe I'll get back to Death Stranding on Mondays. And we will be playing more Sorcery with JRAM on Tuesday, and who knows on Friday. We got a whole week to figure that out. But yeah, thank you so much for checking out these games with me. Thank you so much for hanging out tonight. Please remember that instead of likes and subscribes and bits and all of that, we are running a fundraiser for Amos House, which is a really great organization. Which I do not get my cheat sheet coming up, but they are an organization. There it is. Their mission is to provide daily meals, recovery-based shelter, permanent supportive housing, vocational and literacy training, and jobs to their guests, as well as quality goods and services to the patrons of the business establishments that are staffed by graduates of their programs. We seek to be a strong partner with the state of Rhode Island and the city of Providence in combating the ills of hunger, homelessness, and poverty. They are a really great organization that really helps out my personal unhoused neighbors. And if you enjoy the stream, that donating to our charities is the best way to show your support. And just remember, in general, for charitable giving, literally every dollar helps. And what's cool is that Twitch and Amazon do not get any money from the charity. $20 is, in fact, $20. So that's really, really great. We are going to head somewhere. Let me take a look who's doing something cool. Yeah. So we've played a lot of different kinds of games today. I think we're gonna head on over to Ghoul Babe. And Ghoul Babe is playing just had it up, Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis, which is a point and click game. I find she's a real great time and real chill. Ask her about her Furbies. So yeah, we're gonna raid out. I hope to see you guys later this week, sometime next week. As always, you can join our Discord to talk about the games that we played, to talk about other games, to have your little rant about whatever gaming thing is on your mind. And hope to see you soon. Have a great rest of your Text Adventure Tuesday. Toodles.